This is my second time recording this because the first time my mic was muted, so bear with me. The premise of K-pop Demon Hunters is rather simple. For generations, various girl K-pop groups have been responsible for secretly protecting the world from demons by fighting said demons and by maintaining the Hanmoon, which is basically a magical barrier that helps keep the most dangerous demon from entering the world. The various K-pop groups have used the power from their music and their fandom to reinforce the Hanmoon and slowly but surely secure the world once and for all. This concept is fairly simple, yet highly intriguing. Going into this film, I thought this concept was solely a ploy grab to grab people's attention, but after finishing it, I realized just how well integrated and necessary the K-pop angle is to this overarching story. I would go so far as to say that utilizing K-pop the way it was an absolute necessity in order for this narrative to be as effective and successful as it was. Alongside the intriguing concept, the technical elements of this film were top-notch. The animation was super expressive and did wonders in characterizing every individual who graced the screen. It didn't matter if they were on screen for 1 minute or 30 minutes, almost every character was presented in a way that was attention-grabbing. Even when dialogue was absent, each individual's mannerisms spoke for them, allowing for the background characters to feel more alive and less bland like the NPCs of a lesser film. The animation also aided in injecting humor into this narrative. The visual humor was genuinely funny without the usual cringe that sometimes accompanies such humor in typical animated films. The way the animation was used in this movie was a showcase of the strengths of this medium and create a visual experience that forced my eyes to pay attention to every person or everything that appeared on screen. And when I did, I was rewarded with a super entertaining visual experience. But that's not all. You see, the visual components are only half of the technical elements responsible for how enjoyable of an experience I had with this film. The music was surprisingly catchy, and I was not expecting that. While I did expect the film to have songs and music since the main trio are a K-pop idol group, I was ill-prepared for how good it actually was. I expected the music to be cringy and that I'd have to sit through it begrudgingly and a little bit annoyed or bored, but that's not what I experienced. The music was not only incredibly catchy, but also well executed and transcends being music that's just good for a movie to entering the pantheon of movie soundtracks that you should and need to listen to even after the movie's finished. The great music and the engaging animation worked in tandem to create an experience that I was not expecting, yet greatly appreciated and now hold in high regard. The main trio that we follow, Huntrix, remind me of the Powerpuff Girls. And like the Powerpuff Girls, the girls in Huntrix fill familiar character archetypes, with the leader of the group, Rumi, getting the most character development and spotlight. The character arc undergone by Rumi is pretty interesting. Her history and her responsibility seemingly clash and create the perfect storm for a coming-of-age story that can be understood and appreciated by any and everyone. That being said, the same can't really be said for her Huntrix sisters who suffer from not being the main character syndrome. This means that they don't get the same character development that Rumi gets, which is a bit unfortunate. I do want to stress though that Mira and Zoe aren't just afterthought secondary characters, but I did find them most interesting and compelling when they were with Rumi. They both rarely got focused on their own, and their character journeys were considerably less complex compared to Rumi. I think that this is in large part, due to runtime constraints. If the other two girls in Huntrix received more screen time and more complex character arcs, time would have been taken away from other characters, which might have sullied the overall end product. The characters of Mira and Zoe weren't bad or uninteresting, it's just that I couldn't help but compare them to Rumi, and when comparing them to Rumi and the next character I'm going to discuss in a second, they were lacking in how they were utilized. I feel like they were used primarily to highlight Rumi's character progression and push the themes of the movie, but didn't get any unique exploration or spotlight. That being said, the Saja Boys got it worse than the secondary members of Huntrix. The Saja Boys are the rival boy group to Huntrix. They're composed of demons, and this group is able to effectively and believably disrupt all the progress made by Huntrix in strengthening the Hunmoon and strain the relationship between the Huntrix members. The leader of this rival group is Janu, who has an interesting history and a complicated relationship with the king of demons, Guimma. The development undergone by Janu is really interesting, and the way it compares and contrasts and exists alongside the character journey that Rumi goes through is really enticing. Their interactions are infused with humor, sincerity, and difficult reflection, which aids in pushing the overall themes of this narrative. I think that the characters of Janu and Rumi play very well off of each other and are great leads for this story. Initially, I mentioned how much lesser the roles were for Mira and Zoe compared to Rumi. Well, for the other Saja Boy members, it is a lot worse. The other members of Saja Boys didn't receive much focus or any development. They have really good character designs, but besides that, they don't really do anything besides exist as a thorn in the side of Huntrix. Now, I understand that giving proper focus and adequate or better than average development to the entirety of the Saja Boys is basically impossible, given the group consists of 5 members, but I do think they could have been used just a bit more effectively. Unlike with the other 2 members of Huntrix, I don't really need the other members of Saja Boys to showcase unique development. I just need at least one of them to do something more than they currently do. Even something as simple as showcasing the group's power dynamic would have been greatly appreciated and help me better understand the group's dynamic, outside of just Janu being a really great character. Now, I recognize this might just be something that only I care about, because even with all that being said, I recognize, and I'm sure everyone else who's seen the movie also recognizes, that the Saja Boys are useful and appealing antagonists. But this is almost entirely due to the character of Janu, and also how much of a banger their music is. Like, your idol's peak is peaked. While I like and enjoy the various characters I've discussed thus far, I have made it pretty clear that I wish they could have gotten more focus or played more of an active role in the events in the story. But this next character is actually fine the way they are. The Demon King Guimma initially to me felt a bit lackluster, but as the plot progressed, I gained appreciation for how they were being used. Their lack of a physical form was particularly interesting and helped push the narrative's themes by not allowing me to attach my frustration, my disdain, or my anger to this character, at least not this character solely, but instead to the concepts they represented. Even though Guimma is a constant presence, they aren't on screen as much as the other characters, and I think that aided in the overall story. Yes, Guimma is the main antagonist, but it's what they represent that's actually the main antagonistic force. So there's little need for the Demon King to be featured on screen as much as Huntrix or Janu or the other Saja Boys. This reality means that the comparative lack of screen time that Guimma receives actually enhances the story. Now, let's discuss the fans. The fans in this movie are a sort of character in their own right. They unknowingly power the Hunmoon and are what the 2 rival K-pop groups are vying for. The fact that the fans weren't just some rudimentary metric used to showcase popularity, but were integral to the safety of the world was a great choice. Seeing the similar approach taken by Huntrix and the Saja Boys in order to achieve their different goals made a dynamic that was highly entertaining and that I greatly appreciated while watching it. Throughout my discussion on this movie, I've mentioned the themes that exist within this story. Some of the standouts to me include the way of perfection and the realities of uncertainty and shame. I think exploring these themes in a K-pop centric story feels really fitting, and I didn't expect it to be as impactful as it ended up being. Both Rumi and Janu were great choices to embody and showcase the themes that I mentioned, and the way their stories were handled truly enhanced the movie's message. Now, I believe it is easier for a movie to look or sound good than it is for it to leave a lasting impact on the audience. Yet, this movie was able to do all those things to a really high degree, and that really surprised me. K-pop Demon Hunters is not a perfect movie, but it is a really great one. This movie does so many things well, and even the critiques that I have of it aren't even that bad. The animation is great, the music is catchy, the characters are unique and expressive, and the themes explored are surprisingly moving. I didn't know what to expect from this film, but I ended up getting something that reminded me why the art forms of animation and filmmaking are just amazing mediums for storytelling. Those have been my thoughts. Now I want to hear yours. Let me know down in the comment section what your thoughts are on this movie if you have seen it. If you haven't seen it, go watch the movie, come back to the video, watch all the way through, and then leave a comment for why you think the way you think about the movie. And you watch time. Thank you all for making it to the end of this video. And subscribe if you enjoy what we have going on here. Yeah. Again, thank you for your time and attention. And since you subbed to the channel or you're about to, I'll be seeing you in the next video. One thing before we go. The name Huntrix is such a cold name.